Guys, we have to be out here at 10 a.m. tomorrow sharp, so... Hello?
Oh my God!
2019's psychological horror movie Us is without a doubt one of the most talked about movies of the year, which is kinda weird to say, considering it's not a sequel or a franchise entry or anything based on an already established property, but instead a new, entirely original film. Much like with Get Out, writer-director Jordan Peele was able to create something that even in a highly competitive marketplace stuffed with massive franchises and widely known properties still stood out. Unfortunately, as strictly a horror film, the type of film it was clearly advertised as, Us suffers from a certain negative problem. One central, highly destructive horror-related storytelling problem that reduces its ability to evoke true fear and dread by approximately 75.76%. The problem of inconsistency. What I mean with inconsistency is the... Hello? I'm making a video... Who are you? How'd you get in here? Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? As I was saying, 2019's Us is one of the most discussed and overall most memorable films of the year, which in of itself is a pretty crazy achievement, seeing as it's part of the smaller budget home invasion horror genre that is known to pump out an endless stream of films that come out and make some money and then almost immediately get forgotten by everybody. But not Us. Us is special, because unlike most other horror home invasion movies, Us benefits from a certain positive attribute. One central, highly effective storytelling attribute that, like I mentioned, this video will be about. The attribute of standing out. The reason why Us stands out as a movie, obviously there's pretty much an endless selection to choose from. But for now, we'll be concentrating on perhaps the most crucial and notable reason, which really highlights why Jordan Peele has become one of the most respectable and overall hottest writer-directors working today. A reason that is actually split into two counterparts, which are tethered together in a way that they both directly support each other and make what we're talking about possible. Firstly, the film's excellent utilization of setups and payoffs. And secondly, made possible by this, the film's incredible continuous narrative escalation by way of organically subverting the audience's expectations. And so, my dearest buddies and buddiettes, let's get into this new Filmento video. Let's take a closer look at 2019's Us to find out how it makes itself stand out in such a memorable way, how it very competently uses setups and payoffs, how it's able to naturally keep subverting the audience's expectations because of it. If you, for example, have a mysterious, promising evil villain that you wanna suddenly kill off, here are some useful tips to maybe keep in mind. Before we can move on to the hot topic of subverting expectations, we first have to understand how Jordan Peele utilizes setups and payoffs, a concept which is perhaps the biggest thing that separates a memorable movie from a forgettable one. If you want more information on the latter, look no further than last week's video. And what makes Us so special in this matter is the fact that it not only pays off everything it sets up, it not only sets up everything it pays off, it does so in such an intricate and detailed and effective way that most other movies don't even know to think of doing. In other words, this entire film is like one big unending series of setups and payoffs. Take for example the opening lake house sequence. In every cabin at the lake horror movie, there's pretty much always this exact same opening section where the characters arrive at the cabin and then we spend a bit of free time with them to get to know who they are so that we can care about them later on. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, and it is what every movie should do, but by itself it's is kinda mediocre at best. And the reason Us stands out is because it not only uses this time to build up the characters for later, it also does so in a way that affects the actual plot, with every moment, with every action, with every character. Look at the boy. He is shown to have a magic fire trick device that he gets locked inside a dark closet with, which directly pays off later on when he uses that magic trick device to distract his double and then locks him in that same dark closet in the same way. Look at the girl. She's established to be a talented runner who wants to drive a car, which pays off when she runs away from her double and then ultimately defeats her by running her over with a car. The dad. He's a physical superior to everyone else that seems to have an obsession to be near water and boats. And where does he always battle and defeat his opponents? Near water and boats. Then of course we also have the mom, which we'll get to later on. If you're not convinced yet, don't worry, there's more. A lot more. Bigger visual stuff, smaller dialogue stuff, whatever. I can't show you everything because at that point I might as well just show you the whole movie, but here's some to give you an overall idea.
Did you get something done?
Just like an itsy bitsy little. Not that you need anything. Poor. Would you ever wish you kept dancing? Because you were like really good, right?
At the end of our dance, the tethered saw that I would deliver them from this misery.
You saw their new car, right? Get in the car, get in the car.
Did you know that there's fluoride in the water that the government uses to control our minds?
It was humans that built this place. They created the tethered so they could use them to control the ones above.
So why is this setup payoff stuff so crucial? Well, it's kind of twofold. Firstly, it's a clear indication that the filmmakers actually care about the story and have put in effort to rewrite it multiple times until everything is just right. Secondly, it makes the audience feel like the movie values their time. Everything they see serves a purpose. Every moment that they spend is for something. For every minute that they give, they get something back, even in ways they didn't necessarily expect. If a movie only does a few bigger setups and payoffs, they're always very easy to anticipate. For example, the boat. Obviously, the boat itself is something that everybody can expect to come back later on. But the thing is, here it's not just the boat. There's also the life ring, which initially saves the dad's life by pulling his double away. There's the fact that the boat veers left, which then brings the double back to him. There's the malfunctioning motor, which the dad uses to defeat his double. I mean, goddamn, there's even the freaking flare gun.
You gotta make sure you have the essentials. You got the life preservers.
Got that?
You got a fire extinguisher.
Got that?
You have a flare gun? I knew you'd fucking forget the flare gun.
The only other movie that pulls off this subject as well as Us does that I can quickly think of is Inception, which Christopher Nolan apparently spent around a decade writing. And much like Inception, Us is like one massive puzzle where every big and small piece has its own place, without any leftovers. And for every completed piece, it's like you get to scratch off an itch you sometimes didn't even know you had. I mean, when a movie is made up of seemingly random shots that ultimately turn out to be highly crucial to the narrative, that is satisfying. That is something you remember. Now that we have an understanding of setups and payoffs, let's tackle the topic that they are directly linked to: subverting audience expectations. This is a topic that ever since The Last Jedi has been given almost a straight up negative connotation, something which I personally disagree with. Because honestly, subverting expectations with twists and turns is one of the most powerful cards filmmakers have at their disposal. It's a card that the most memorable movies pretty much always use. And I'd like to try and prove this by arguing that a big reason Us became one of the most standout talked about movies of 2019 is because of the way it continuously subverts expectations. As I said, there's tons of these contained home invasion horror movies out there, and even though they make money, they most of the time end up being very forgettable, because frankly, there's usually around 30 to 40 minutes of actual great material to explore, after which the whole thing just gets stretched out to reach the mandatory 80-minute runtime. Like, in what other genre do you find movies where it takes the protagonist 3 full minutes on screen to simply go from their house to the shed that's located right next to it? In many ways, Us was in a very similar position. It was conceived to be this tiny home invasion movie about the mother and her doppelganger who would attack her family and at the same time externally explore her inner demons. That's great, but it's not really enough. Maybe it's enough for an episode of Black Mirror, but not for a full feature. And so, to get around this issue, Jordan Peele introduced a couple different major subversive twists along the way that more or less revamped the movie into something else. First, he added in the twist of making the doubles be about the whole family, instead of just the mother like initially was built up to. I know this twist was already spoiled by the trailers, but for now, let's just focus on the movie. Because of this twist, the movie suddenly has 4 characters to externally explore instead of just 1, aka 4 times the material. Plus, it also sets the movie apart from all others in this genre. Then, after that plotline had borne out, the movie goes through another twist where the doppelgangers actually affect the entire nation. As in, a contained home invasion movie suddenly becomes a nation invasion movie. Once again, this sets the film apart from all others in the genre and consequently takes it to uncharted territory where it's pretty much impossible to predict what's gonna happen next, which adds to the feeling of insecurity. There's also a third major twist at the end, which isn't as important because it doesn't really change things as much, but we'll get to it soon enough. The question that follows obviously is why? Why does revamping the movie in an unexpected way work here, but not, for example, in something like The Last Jedi? Well, for one, because unlike with Snoke in The Last Jedi, here you still get what you paid for. Before the movie becomes a nation invasion story, you still get your home invasion doppelganger story, with the mother being a central point. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, because here the subversions are properly set up in a way that you don't necessarily always see coming, but still in a way that you afterwards realize that you should have seen coming. As in, they take the direction the movie has set itself up to head in and then organically build on it in a way that escalates things further. The twist of the whole family having doubles, even without the trailers, there's plenty of setup here for you to get the idea that is what's gonna happen. At the beach, there's a very distinctive shot that highlights the shadows of the whole family. At home, the dad mentions how he could very easily take on the mother's double. At the very beginning, there's multiple bunnies, plus more and more stuff in the lake house arrival section. What about the twist of going nationwide? Was that sufficiently set up for it to feel organic? Well, judge for yourself.
A 4,000-mile-long chain of Good Samaritans standing hand in hand.
Okay, let's call the cops.
I did. They're 14 minutes away.
What? 14 minutes? What are you people?
We're Americans.
How does 911 keep you on hold all night long? I just don't get it.
It's too many twins, man.
Same with the twist at the end, where the mother turns out to be the double. It doesn't change anything as much, but it's still a great example of how to use setups and payoffs in a bigger twist. You might not necessarily always see the twist coming because it's hidden among tons of other bigger and smaller setups and payoffs, but when you look back afterwards, you realize that you should have seen it coming. The metaphor of how the mother gets tethered in both her and her friend's house. The fact that she knows how the doubles think. The way she feels for the dying daughter double. There's more than enough evidence of this twist sprinkled throughout the movie that when you get close enough, you can see it before it even is finally fully hammered in. In other words, the twist feels like another missing piece of the massive puzzle you didn't even realize was missing until it was right in front of you. And that's how you properly use setups and payoffs. That's how you organically subvert expectations. That right there is how you make a movie, or perhaps just an online video, that stands out.